They used to say, the best thing that you can do here is get every ounce of wisdom and insight and reflection you can for the times where you're not going to have your team. I remember that. And I remember thinking, I'm never not going to have a team. Well, here you go. There's a big difference between being alone and being in isolation. There's a conversation I was having with a man recently. He was inquiring about coming out and doing a wilderness fast with us for our Compass experience. And he said, I'm afraid of being alone. I said, you know what? I can relate to that. That's one of those things that so many of us have a fear of. We're social animals. We're social beings. We thrive because we work together in collaborative lifestyle and community. So of course, we don't want to be alone. And so much of this men's work and this message that we have for the modern man is not to do it alone. Because that old narrative of the lone wolf, the lone ranger, the self-made man, that is all about self-isolation. Literally isolating yourself behind a shield and armoring yourself and containing emotions, containing your real authentic experience behind all these defenses that we put up around ourselves. And we know that doesn't work. We know that keeps us from building greater depth of connection. We know that keeps us from intimacy, from truth, from honesty, from authentic living. And so we have to find ways to be more connected, to not be in isolation. But that doesn't remove the very simple fact that for most of our lives, we're actually alone. Even as I'm recording this video to you guys right now, I'm alone in my office. I'm by myself. And the reality is that at the end of the day, the only person that you can depend on 100% of the time to be there for you, for your whole life, is you. It's me. And when I was a kid, I remember I was so uncomfortable with being alone. I remember there's a story back when I was in college. I was walking from my girlfriend's dorm to the dorm where I lived. And it's probably like a 3-minute walk, literally less than 5 minutes for sure. And I called up my friend just to talk to somebody on the walk home. He's like, "Where are you, bro?" I'm like, "I'm just walking home from the other terrace." He's like, "Well, why are you calling me? I'm going to see you in like 3 minutes." And it was such a revealing and funny moment that showed how uncomfortable I was with being alone, being by myself and being with myself. Going out and fasting in the wilderness alone for 4 days and 4 nights, the most uncomfortable thing for me was not withholding from food. It was being by myself, being with my thoughts, being with the company of me, not having something else to busy myself or distract myself with. And that simple practice of being alone was so uncomfortable, but also so transformative for me. And so I wanted to make this distinction between being alone versus being in isolation, because the lone wolf story doesn't work. That's about isolation. But there are moments in life where you are going to be alone. 6 months ago, I left the men's team that I sat on for 8 years, and I've felt alone since then. They used to say, the best thing that you can do here is get every ounce of wisdom and insight and reflection you can for the times where you're not going to have your team. I remember that. And I remember thinking, I'm never not going to have a team. Well, here you go. You never know what the future holds. You never know what circumstances I'm going to find myself in, you're going to find yourself in. So while it's important to invest in relationships and to build community and invest trust in the people around you, it's also important to learn how to be with ourselves, how to be alone, how to practice being alone and in solitude, solitude versus isolation, solo time versus isolation. Because the other benefit of it is if you can get over the uncomfortable part, there's so much happening inside here, inside the guts. And if we could only just take some time, give ourselves that opportunity to be alone and to break through those first levels of discomfort. You know, when we go out and fast for 4 days, it's usually 2 days. Usually the third day is the breakthrough day where you say, you know what? I'm out here by myself. I'm going to make the most of it. And then that's when all the insights start coming through, because we finally start listening. That internal voice that's usually muffled out and muddled out by the crowd noise, by the relationships, the people that we have around us, social media, technology, etc. The only time we can really hear it is when we slow down enough to, when we pause, when we eliminate the distractions around us, and we just listen to what this inner voice is saying. So it's important not to be afraid to be alone, or if you are afraid to be alone, to challenge yourself. It doesn't have to be 4 days. Take a day, take an afternoon, take a couple days, whatever it looks like, but be with yourself. Even if it's just sitting silently in meditation for longer and longer periods of time, that's still an opportunity to go inward and listen, to tune into what that voice is saying, because that's where all the truth is. You have questions about purpose? Answers are in here. You have questions about what I should do? What decisions should I make? What's the next best thing for me? What do I value? What do I care about? All those answers are inside. In fact, they're talking to you all the time. You're just not listening because there's so much other noise. So if you're afraid of being alone, if you have resistance to being alone, then heed my advice. Get used to it. Get familiar with being with yourself, because you're the only company you're going to have for the rest of your life. And if you're the isolated type, if you like to shield yourself behind a wall, let's go, man. It's time to get past that. 2021 now, man. It's time for bigger and better things. We've tried that before. We know that narrative doesn't work. So if this message hits you, if you know somebody else who is afraid of being alone or is in the isolated pattern, then shoot this message, shoot this video over to them so that they can get the same dose of medicine you just did. And if you love what we're dropping here, make sure you subscribe to the Rising Man channel and tune in next week for our next transmission. Much love, y'all. Happy New Year. Peace, love, blessings, and all the good stuff. Take care.